The morning opened gently in the border town of Riedheim, in the high summer of 1870. Wooden shutters lifted along the narrow streets. Bread cooled on racks beside open doors. Church bells marked the hour without urgency. Though war had been declared weeks earlier between France and Prussia, it still felt distant here. Fields needed tending. Animals needed feeding. Riedheim expected another ordinary day. Shortly after 9, 2 uniformed gendarmes crossed the central square, carrying a folded notice sealed with red wax. Their pace was calm, official. People noticed them, but no one intervened. Notices appeared often in unsettled times, and most brought little more than inconvenience. They stopped at the board outside the town hall. One unfolded the paper and read it silently, while the other fixed it in place with a hammer. The document was clean and formal, written in precise government French. It announced a military requisition. Grain, livestock, and carts were to be registered for possible army use. Compensation would be arranged later. Registration was required within 3 days. A small crowd gathered. Most people in Riedheim spoke German dialects rather than official French, and the sentences were long and exacting. The meaning was not immediately clear. A schoolteacher, Matthias Keller, stepped forward to translate. He read carefully, aware that small shifts in wording could change everything. Questions came at once. Would food be taken that day? Would soldiers arrive by nightfall? Matthias explained the notice required.
The notice required the solution,
He
not
pointed to
seizure.
the deadlines and the formal process, but others focused on a phrase that suggested urgency. Someone copied the notice by hand and omitted a qualifying line. Another repeated its meaning from memory, altering it again.
By midday, several versions of the message circulated through kitchens, fields, and taverns. One claimed the army would seize grain before sunset. Another warned that refusal would bring arrest. Fear did not arrive all at once. It grew gradually, shaped by practical worries: winter stores, children, empty shelves. Carts were moved away from the square. Sacks of grain were hidden behind walls and under floorboards. Doors closed earlier than usual. Voices dropped when strangers passed. A rumor spread that soldiers were already marching from a nearby garrison. In the early afternoon, a small unit of reservists entered the town. They were local men, recently called into service and sent back through familiar streets. Some wore uniforms that did not yet fit. Their orders were limited: to maintain order while requisitions were prepared. To those watching from doorways, their arrival confirmed the worst version of the message. Shouting broke out near the square. A woman cried that her husband was still in the fields. A stone struck the wall of the town hall. It was not thrown hard, but the sound carried. The reservists formed a loose line. Their sergeant called for calm, but his voice did not reach far enough. Another stone flew, closer this time. Someone ran. Others followed. Fear moved faster than reason, and movement created more movement. A single shot rang out. No one later agreed who fired it or why. When silence returned, one man lay dead and several others were injured. Blood mixed with spilled grain from a torn sack on the stones. The posted notice still hung on the board, its words unchanged. Officers arrived that evening to restore order. They read the original message aloud, slowly and clearly. The requisition was postponed. Clarifications were issued. None of it could undo what had already happened. No one was punished. Each step that day had been small and reasonable on its own. Years later, those who remembered it spoke without anger. They said no one intended the violence, and they were right. It began with an ordinary message, misunderstood and repeated, gathering weight until history turned almost without notice.